What the fuck is wrong with this company? You guys tell me. Here I sit with my beautiful template and overlay already done with the universal title around over the shoulder of Bray Wyatt, because there's no way in the hell in the world, and no way in hell that he's going to drop the belt to Goldberg of all people in fucking Saudi Arabia, a little bit more than a month ahead of WrestleMania. Not going to happen, is what I said. That's what I said, didn't I? Me and my predictions. Here I sit. Good, we can be seen and heard. Thank God. I was adamant and I was confident that while I understood what the fans were saying about, holy shit, Goldberg might win the title because, WWE doesn't want Roman to get booed and all this kind of nonsense. I'm like, okay, that's definitely WWE's standard operating procedure. I'll give you that. But not even they can be this stupid. Boy, was I wrong. They proved me wrong. WWE. And you guys know me, those of you, Jesus Christ, we already got a great audience in here. Those who've been following me for years. Do I ever flip out, over wrestling matches? Do I ever get, angry and mad and rant and rave over the outcome of a simple fucking wrestling match? I'm usually highly critical of the fans that are so emotionally unstable, which is pretty much all of them, after, somebody, a match outcome that they don't like, that they go on this tirade, on Twitter, typing in all caps, certain YouTubers I can mention, yelling and screaming and ranting and raving at the top of their lungs over something that means fucking nothing and means something that really isn't as damaging as they're making it out to be. Usually it's just their anger overtaking critical thought, and then they just spew out a bunch of, hate-filled, dialogue to everybody to listen to, when at the end of the day, it's really not that big a deal. And I'm usually the one sitting back just chilling, kind of having a soda pop, watching all the fun unfold on social media, because I don't give a shit about it. It's not that big a deal. There's one exception to that, though, today at Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia. I think WWE putting the belt on Goldberg in the main event of this show, the Universal title, is one of the biggest mistakes in company history. Only because of the simple just investment. You don't have a character like Bray Wyatt. This isn't just, anybody. This is somebody that you spent a lot of time and a lot of money repackaging and reinvesting in this great talented wrestler that's kind of already been screwed over by, legendary talent before in his career, some could say. Losing to guys like Cena and Randy Orton and all of his big program. And all of the big programs he was in. So here you spend all this time really revamping and coming up with a character that we've seen nothing like before in the WWE. It gets over. They make it the focal point of Friday Night SmackDown on Fox. This guy is untouchable. Brock Lesnar got defeated twice by Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins was an untouchable best wrestler in the company, and everything he threw at the Fiend just kept coming. Curb stomp after curb stomp, electrocution, whatever. He just kept coming and wound up taking the belt from Seth Rollins. So when you put a belt on the Fiend and a character like the Fiend like that, to me, there's no other option other than for him to go to WrestleMania. And if you're going to build someone up this much and you're going to spend this much time and investment in this character, when he does drop the belt, that's something as an audience we should look forward to, because that's going to be a big deal. And we've already been nervous. And hell, it might be WWE just, saying, you know what, we don't want to deal with the fans' fucking nonsense because we're screwed either way here. If we put Roman Reigns against the Fiend, or maybe John Cena, we don't know what's going to be yet, but assuming it was going to be like Roman Reigns versus the Fiend, and they want to put the title on Roman, they're like, you know what, the fans are going to get pissed and they're going to fucking flip out, so why don't we just do it now, get the anger over with, and then when we get to WrestleMania, we can, go about business as usual. I'm guessing that might have been their reasoning there, but either way, this makes zero fucking sense. To me, why, who sets their investments on fire? Everything that you bought and spent money and time on, you just take it out in the field and just light it on fire and burn it. It's not even like you could spin this and it wasn't really that damaging of a loss for the Fiend, or he just barely lost, or they can do a return, or this loss didn't kill him. Usually I'm the first one to stand up and say that, because every time somebody loses, every time, I guarantee you, I didn't look on social media last night, but I guarantee you there are people saying that Bianca Belair was buried last night by Charlotte. I have to listen to nonsense like that all the fucking time. But this is a situation where they genuinely did bury this talent. What the fuck? I mean, I just cannot believe after all of that time, they spent so much time rebuilding Bray Wyatt, a guy that we thought was lost forever. He comes back stronger than ever, like, holy shit, this is different. This is going to get over. And look at the way he's beating people. He seems impervious to pain. There's all sorts of questions around, his strengths and his weaknesses, and we don't even really know what we have yet here in The Fiend. And then you're just going to beat him like this? Did you guys watch that match? 4 fucking spears and a jackhammer, and it was over? I mean, Jesus Christ, man. I thought for sure, like, when The Fiend stood up after the match, I thought maybe they were going to do an angle where The Fiend would snap, murder Bill Goldberg to where he can't even defend the title. And it's just forfeited or something like that. But they closed the show with Goldberg winning the title, and now he's heading off to WrestleMania, and you've murdered this Fiend character. And I thought for sure I had it right. When I was predicting Bray Wyatt to win after what we saw last week on SmackDown, that one segment between the two, the Firefly Funhouse, and then Bray Wyatt appears in the ring behind Goldberg, and he gets speared. And I'm like, well, there's your proof right there. Fiend's going to beat Goldberg at Super Showdown, because they're not going to shit on the Fiend on the go-home SmackDown and then have him lose. Usually it's kind of the other way around. Not all the time, but most of the time in feuds or in angles, if somebody gets, the last word on the go-home show, they generally lose, especially in, big pay-per-view situations, they'll lose that match. And so when I saw Goldberg just spear the Fiend last week, I'm like, okay, they had 1 week to make Goldberg look good and strong and fearless against the Fiend. But when it came down to it, the Fiend was just going to be too much and put him down with the mandible claw. And I thought the match would be short. We knew it would. I kind of thought after the first spear, maybe Bray would just hook the claw and put Goldberg down as quickly as he put Kevin Owens down a couple of years ago. And as I'm watching the match after the second spear, and I'm like, okay, I wasn't even after the third spear, I wasn't worried. I'm like, Bray Wyatt is kicked out of everything. The Fiend is not really shown any severe weakness yet. There's no way 3 spears is going to do it. So even when he kicked out of the third one, I was like, yeah, he's going to kick out. He'll kick out of another one too. Even by the fourth one. And then when he picked him up for the shittiest looking jackhammer, aside from the one he did last year at Super Showdown against The Undertaker that damn near killed him, this one wasn't much better. And he just fell over. It just looked like a rolling fucking somersault. 1, 2, 3. What the fuck, WWE? Jesus, I'm sorry, YouTube. You're probably going to make advertising, or this video is not going to be suitable for advertiser due to the multiple F-bombs here. But what the fuck? Seriously. I mean, it's like a dream. I mean, it's not even, I don't even have any personal feelings one way or the other. It's not like I was some big Fiend mark and I'm upset that he lost. It's not that. It's wrestling. It's like what you've done now. Look at your WrestleMania. You've got Goldberg and Brock as your 2 champions going into this thing. Goldberg, Brock, and Undertaker were put over huge in the show. So much for pushing new talent and young talent and shit like that. Goldberg, he's not even an attraction. He was here twice last year. He had that abomination last time he was in Saudi Arabia with The Undertaker. Then he worked SummerSlam. It's not even an exciting thing to see Goldberg. I understand that nostalgia sells and everything in wrestling, and you want to have these legends around and these big time names and everything. But if you continue to do this to your talent, you're not going to have any nostalgia to sell 20 years from now. Nobody's going to give a shit about seeing Bray Wyatt in a match after he's past retirement age because he was a piece of shit when he was here. So if you continuously do this at the expense of these people that don't need to be built, that's my biggest problem with this, I think, is because when you have a character like The Fiend, it's the same thing with Brock Lesnar. When Brock was so dominant, I'm like, you have to, Goldberg got that victory too, didn't he? At Survivor Series. It was the same thing with him. I'm like, you got to keep building it, because when he finally does lose and somebody puts him down clean, somebody other than a Cena or other than a Goldberg or an Undertaker, a new guy, a young guy, a current roster member, like a Seth Rollins, it's going to be so much better. And here I see the same opportunity in The Fiend. I'm like, the one good thing about a character like this that has so much mystique, so much mystery, that's impervious to pain, and in our wrestling fans' minds, we can't even fathom a way that this guy is even going to drop the belt yet. So you've got a golden opportunity there for the person that puts him down is going to be immortalized, especially if that's a younger talent. Or maybe not a younger talent, I should say a current talent. Basically not a 53-year-old retired talent. And I will say, let me just pause real quick. Aside from all of my anger here and as upset I am as about this and as stupid as I think WWE is, Goldberg is in phenomenal shape for a 53-year-old. Jesus, man. He looks like he's 38, 37. His body doesn't do what other people in their 50s do, he's a freak of nature. So I'll give him that. I mean, he's in shape and all of that, but his matches are terrible. At least he remembered not to knock himself silly on the locker room door before he headed out to the ring this time. But what is he going to be able to do in the ring just to buy a couple of spears? So, I mean, I just think they've completely murdered this concept of the Fiend character, which I think is idiotic because you know how much money they spent. Plus, they were paying Bray Wyatt his, top star salary to sit on his ass while they figured out what to do with him. Then they spend all that money marketing this and promoting this, selling that $7,000 belt. And where did the blue belt come from? I was only kind of half paying attention because it was kind of early in the morning for me to watch this shit. I swear he came down there with the replica title, or not the replica, the custom Fiend title, but then Goldberg celebrating with the blue belt. So they must have had it out there. But I thought that was a giveaway when I saw the Fiend walking out there with the leather thing, and I'm like, oh, good, he's going to retain. I had no worries in the world. I was not concerned. I was not concerned that my prediction would be wrong. I just thought there was no way in hell that this is something that they're going to do. It would make no sense to do that. And I hate talking like that. You have no idea how much it pains me to sit up here on YouTube and be one of these fucking jackoffs that constantly talk about what does make sense and what doesn't make sense and who's buried and how fucked the WWE is. But this is one time I'm suspending all of that, and I think they're right. Anybody who's screaming at the top of their lungs and making a big deal about this, they have a point, because this is fucking stupid and this is going to be damaging. Usually when somebody loses and everybody freaks out, I'm like, it's not damaging, doesn't mean shit. But this is something that I actually think could have long-term effects that they've really dropped the ball on here. All in the name of what? And what was the reasoning behind it? I'm curious to know if this was the plan all along or if this was decided like a couple of days ago, because the way last week on SmackDown went, if the plan all along was for Goldberg to beat The Fiend today, last week on SmackDown, The Fiend should have put him down with the claw. After the fun house and then the Fiend was standing behind him, he should have put the mandible claw on him, put Goldberg down. Goldberg can be twitching like when Scott Hall shocked him with the cattle prod, and the Fiend can do all his scary shit. And then you have Goldberg defeat him here at Super Showdown. And that still would have sucked, don't get me wrong, but it wouldn't have been as bad. At least the Fiend looked somewhat dominant, at least last week on SmackDown, and maybe Goldberg just caught him with a fluke win. Because you saw the way the Fiend, even after taking 4 spears and a jackhammer, he popped right back up. But why the fuck didn't he kick out? And Goldberg, he's not the draw I don't think the WWE thinks that he is. I was never a big Goldberg fan to begin with, and I was okay with, I actually liked the way they brought him back in 2016, even though the match with Brock was shocking. At Survivor Series, I liked it for the shock value. This didn't give me shock value. This gave me, what the fuck are you thinking value? Where in 2016, there was a lot of debate and everything online, but you're not seeing any debate here. We're all on the same page. This is dumb. This company is so dumb that they just waste opportunities. In the name of what? Goldberg and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, or Goldberg and John Cena? That's the big talk right now, these 4 names. Fiend, Cena, Goldberg, Roman. It's going to be a combination there. So Cena's either working with the Fiend or he's working with Goldberg. Either way, Goldberg's dropping that belt at WrestleMania. We know that. But I've been mentioning for the past couple of weeks that if you're going to launch Drew McIntyre, it's not really the stage to put the belt on fucking Roman. And definitely not the stage to beat the Fiend. Beat the Fiend in a main... Didn't I say that? I said beat the Fiend in the main event of a pay-per-view. I didn't mean this one. I meant the one like after WrestleMania. WWE, for you nimrods that are listening to my podcast. I think they did everything wrong here. I think every single thing they did at Super Showdown was a mistake. I hate these fucking Saudi Arabia shows. I don't like them. I don't even want to watch them. But, the last couple of times we've seen some title changes, and that brings up another interesting question. Going back to that, when did WWE decide to do this? Do you think it's possible? And by the way, if I know there's super chats rolling in, I'm going to hit those in a minute. Do you guys think it's possible that maybe it's in the negotiations that big things have to happen in the Saudi Arabia shows? Because the first few, we weren't seeing much happen. And I was the one coming up and saying, look, these things are going to be glorified house shows. They're going to be house shows with a WrestleMania set. And you're not going to see any titles change hands. If you do, it'll be a minor title, tag title, something like that. Every single one of these Saudi Arabia shows, they've made up some bullshit match concept. First with the Green Battle Royal belt, then the Best in the World trophy, now this tapioca pudding trophy that they gave away today. They always have some silly-ass, stupid-ass match that means nothing. It's just there for the crowd. So that's all I really ever wanted these shows to be. But maybe the Saudi government was catching on to that and be like, look, WWE's just going through the motions for us. We need more than that. If we're going to pay you all this money, we want this to be treated as an actual pay-per-view where things can actually happen. That's possible. because I'm still baffled by what we saw last week on SmackDown. It makes last week even weirder to me. You know, if this was the plan, I think The Fiend should have had Goldberg down. He should have beaten Goldberg up or something last week on SmackDown as the show went off the air. So you pissed on him on SmackDown, you shit on him tonight. What are you going to do on Friday? Puke on him? Either way, The Fiend is dead. The Fiend is dead. Bravo. Good job, WWE. You've killed one of your most over gimmicks in recent memory. You know, and a lot of people aren't really Fiend fans, and a lot of people argue that The Fiend shouldn't have had the belt to begin with because he's the type of character that, you know, championship belts shouldn't matter to him. You're right, but they did put the belt on him. We can't go change that. So it still doesn't make it any less right the way they took it off of him, because it's still, you know, and even if there was no belt on the line here, forget that there's even a title. If this was just a straight up match and it still went this way and it was a non-title match, it would still suck. You know, if Bray Wyatt wasn't the champion and this was just one-on-one and Goldberg beat him, I'd still be pissed. Because I'm like, man, you're building this character. This guy's going to be champion soon. And you're going to have Goldberg beat him? Ay, 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 ay. God, this fucking company. I mean, Botchamania Matthew, I think, said it best on Twitter. He said, it's a combination of being surprised and not surprised. You know, because a lot of people are saying that they weren't surprised, and honestly, deep down, I'm not either. It's what the WWE does. This is right in line with their way of thinking. I've just been telling you guys for the past couple of weeks that there's no way they could be this dumb. Even though they normally think like this, they can't think like this for this match. You know, I mean, if this company's number one goal is to make money, you're wasting it here with everything you've done with The Fiend, because no fan is going to take him seriously now. And like, he didn't need to be champion. I agree with that totally. And I would not have even minded if he lost the belt. I wouldn't even mind if he lost it clean, but not like this. If Daniel Bryan would have somehow found a way to beat him at the Royal Rumble, I would have been surprised, but I could have swallowed it. You know, Goldberg, he's not even good. You know, like, look at what happened to him, you know, last year at WrestleMania, or last year at Super Showdown. I mean, the guy can only have a semi-decent match if he's in there with someone like a Ziggler who can bump around for him. And Bray Wyatt's big and beefy, and that's why this match went, I don't know, 6 minutes or whatever it did. And you just saw 6 moves and it was over. We're right back to where we were 3 years ago. What year was that? 2017? Where Goldberg beat Kevin Owens and then went on to WrestleMania. So we're doing this again. We don't need to see it. I don't give a shit about Goldberg. I was actually okay with his run, and I liked his retirement send-off. I liked his Hall of Fame induction. I liked the fact that he was able to patch up any hard feelings that he might have had with WWE from his prior run there back in the early 2000s. And I appreciate the level of star that Goldberg was. All that was fine. And if he wants to show his face every now and then for an attraction match against Dolph Ziggler, or even one against The Undertaker at Super Showdown, or some sort of a harmless match, I'm all for it. Goldberg's a legend. Have at it. But this, you know, at least with guys like Brock and shit, you know, they can still go. Goldberg is not a good wrestler. He never was, and he certainly isn't anymore. And what's Matt Riddle's thoughts on this? I mean, the only way I'm going to be okay with this bullshit that they did is if on Friday on SmackDown, if Goldberg's having his victory speech and Matt Riddle comes strutting out there and says, I want to challenge you. But we know that's not going to happen. The big story this Friday night on SmackDown apparently isn't going to be Goldberg's victory celebration. It's going to be the return of John Cena. So, you know, what does that mean for The Fiend? Is he going to right away this Friday start something with Cena as if the title match didn't even happen? You know, or is he not going to care about it? I mean, I guess he shouldn't care about championships, but, you know, even after the match, you know, he stood there. I thought he was waiting to attack Goldberg, and the lights went out and he was gone. So after he got beat, he just disappeared. He retreated. He cowered. He ran like a chicken shit, you know, with his tail between his legs. Oh my God. Goldberg might as well taken that mask off of Bray, put it on, and fucking done a dance. Because what else now? And now I think that Bray Wyatt's Fiend character, you know what I'm worried about now? I think I think it might turn more Funhouse oriented, and he's going to be more that Bray Wyatt instead of Fiend Bray Wyatt, because there's no reason to be scared of the Fiend anymore. None at all. So I think I'm worried that now you're going to see more Funhouse Bray Wyatt, and it might, and one or two things could happen. He could either revert back to kind of the Bray Wyatt he used to be, or it turns into a joke gimmick. And every week on SmackDown, you get some funny, and now it's like not a creepy Funhouse anymore. It's a fun Funhouse. Like when Doink turned babyface. Same thing. Something was over. It was working. It was creepy. It was good. It was different. And then all of a sudden, bam, out of nowhere, they turned him babyface, ruined the whole thing, and Doink was a fucking joke. And I'm worried that Bray Wyatt's can turn into Doink now. I can't even talk. I'm so fucking pissed. And I don't get pissed. 10 years I've been doing this. I'm never like freaking out. WWE, you're so stupid. I find those fans so annoying. And I think they need fucking help. But in this case, They right for sure. All right, let's go knock out a couple of these super chats. We're going to get into the results of the show too, and we also have to predict Revolution, which is going to be a much better pay-per-view than Super Showdown turned out to be. And this entire card, this entire show was shit. I didn't mind the Brock and Ricochet match. It went exactly the way I thought it should. It's what really ruined it was the Goldberg stuff for me. But we'll go through all of the results here. Let me just scroll back, knock out any super... Wow, I missed a lot. I'm going to do these pretty quick. Let's start with the first one. Matt J. Hendricks, thank you, brother, for the $2. Cena versus Wyatt don't mean crap without the title. Yeah, I agree. Unless John Cena is going to do a movie or some shit, you know, and they can't really have him win the title right now. So now with Wyatt and Cena, I mean, do they use Cena to get Wyatt back on track? Would that even be enough? That's a question I can ask to you guys. After what we saw happen to The Fiend today, if he were to go into WrestleMania and face John Cena and beat him, does he recover from the loss? I still say no. I still say this is unrepairable damage, what they did to him here. Because I think a lot of things, too, when I'm critical of the fans for, like, freaking out, I always say, look, it's fixable. The Charlotte Knox Asuka thing. I'm like, look, all WWE has to do is book a rematch at SummerSlam. Asuka goes over. Nothing is wrong. You know, Asuka's going to continue to go on and win 1 million belts and blah, blah, blah. It was fixable. WWE didn't do it, but it was a fixable situation. And any other time somebody loses and the fans flip their shit, I'm like, this is not a big deal. It's everybody can recover from this. It's not the end of the world. You guys overreact about every fucking thing the WWE does, and it's not the end of the world. But this is one of the situations where I don't think they can recover from this. There's nothing they can do now with that Fiend character that will get me back invested into, like, oh my God, who can stop this guy? That's dead. That is dead and never coming back. Way to go, WWE. But anyway, thank you, Matt, for the $2. Someone different. Also, thank you for the $2. How about that Riyadh for WrestleMania sign? Oh, I didn't see that. That's funny. Yeah, keep dreaming. Well, actually, they probably don't have to dream if there's enough money talking. Hell, could happen. Addicted Chip, thank you for the $5, dude. I appreciate it. Greg, WWE's mistake was putting the title on The Fiend in the first place. Some people have said that. I don't think so. I understand that people say, oh, that type of gimmick shouldn't want the title, but you still are a professional wrestler. You know, I used to think, you know, WWE, I think that had that same mentality about The Undertaker back in the day. But when he first came in, he got the title shot and won it his first year. But then after that, they started treating him like that character that doesn't need the title. He never challenged for it. From like 1992 all the way up until like 96, he didn't get any title shots. Oh, yeah, he did. He did in a night like 94 against Yoko. But they were few and far between, and they were very rare, and they didn't consider him to really be a top title contender until around 96 and 97. That's when he started winning the title, and then he was like in the mix. But otherwise, his character didn't seem to be one that really needed or clamored for the title. Andre was a lot like that too. But at the same time, I think I'll meet you halfway on that, where I think it was maybe a mistake to put the belt on the Fiend when they did. Because I remember saying that last year when they made the match. I'm like, I think it's too early. I don't want him to get a title shot yet. I want him to fuck with people and mow through people and become scarier and scarier, and then you build up to a title shot. As a matter of fact, I think right around now is when Wyatt should have been winning a title. But instead, it all happened so fast, he's already lost the fucking thing. You know, he's a guy that didn't need to win the Royal Rumble or anything like that. He can just get a title shot some other way and put somebody down, maybe even at WrestleMania or after WrestleMania. I kind of thought all of that would happen now. So putting the belt on him, I wasn't against. I think I was against putting the belt on him as quickly as they did. And when they did the Hell in the Cell finish, I'm like, okay, cool, get out of it now. You know, he didn't lose, but he didn't win, and just move him on to something else. And then they did the rematch in Saudi Arabia and then kind of righted that wrong. So I agree that it shouldn't have been put on him when it was, but eventually he should be champion, yes, because I think that would be fun if somebody just completely dominates everybody for several months. Because The Fiend didn't really have a chance to do much domination, just a few weeks before they put the fucking belt on him. But if he were able to have this whole run now where he's putting people down like Daniel Bryan and others, just in regular feuds with no titles on the line, and then you build him up to this, and you put him in there with whoever the fuck is champion, maybe like a Goldberg or something, and you're like, damn, you know, like, who's going to finally stop this guy? And if he gets a title shot, he's going to win because nobody can stop him. And then he does. I would have much rather seen it go in that direction. WWE just, they do everything ass fucking backwards, man. Stone Cold 10X, thanks for the $2, dude. I appreciate it. In my opinion, anyone who beat the Fiend fans would be mad. Oh yeah, you're probably right about that, but I'm hoping in terms of WrestleMania anyway, I think if The Fiend were to lose at WrestleMania, a lot of people would be mad. I think people would be foolish to think, kind of like the Asuka situation, these fucking idiots were thinking that she should never lose ever. She loses one fucking time, and they act like the WWE's flushed her down the shitter. I'm like, what's one loss? Losing one time to the best current female wrestler on the roster is nothing to be ashamed of. You know, if Asuka would have lost to fucking Trish Stratus or something who was coming back, like Goldberg, then they might have had a point. You know, but I think at WrestleMania, the fans, yes, would be mad, but they would be foolish to be mad if they think he's going to hold the title for the rest of his life. And that's some of the shit that makes me mad about the fans sometimes, is because they're not thinking. I'm like, you can't just go undefeated forever. It's not how it works. You got to lose eventually. So WrestleMania, I think, would have been too early. But after that, you know, I guess it also depends on who the opponent is. That's the way the fans are. You know, if it's Roman, they're going to say, oh, it's too early to beat The Fiend. But if it was somebody they like, that argument doesn't stand, because, you know, it's all about who they like and don't like. So, yeah, fans are going to be mad either way, but this was such 100 times worse. I mean, because if The Fiend would have maybe lost at WrestleMania, I probably wouldn't have liked it, but I wouldn't be ranting and raving. If he did go in there like I was talking about and face Roman Reigns, and I've been saying, you know, it should be Drew's moment. He's the main event. Don't put the belt on Roman and end this dominant run by The Fiend on the undercard. That would be such a letdown. But I would have been able to stomach that a hell of a lot more than this. I would much prefer Roman beating The Fiend than Goldberg beating The Fiend. Why? Because Roman's a top star and a main roster member, and he's on TV every week. Goldberg's there every now and then, and he wrestles a total of 98 seconds every time he steps foot in the fucking ring. So for everybody that hates Roman Reigns, I would have much preferred, if I had the choice of two anyway, I would have much preferred Roman beating The Fiend than Goldberg. This is a disaster, man. Absolute disaster. What else did I miss? Addicted Chip, thank you. For $1.99. Don't be a JD from New York. Well, he's probably pretty pissed too, and he's got a heck of a gripe. I think anybody that's a little bit upset. Yeah, no, the rant and raving is stuff that I usually get mad about when people flip out over like nothing, you know, like the Asuka Charlotte match. Oh my god! Or I'm like, fucking get over yourself. Have an Eskimo pie and take a bong rip. You'll be fine. But this is something that's just so beyond stupid. It's baffled my own mind. Yeah, so if anybody is on social media or on YouTube or wherever screaming and yelling, hey, I'm not going to give them shit today. Have at it. Yell, scream from the fucking rooftops, man. This company deserves it. Chris Ludecki, good to see you, man. Thank you, and thank you as well for $5. Between pay-per-views leaving the network and today's show, they may legit lose 100,000 subscribers. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of that. I'm done watching shit. I put that on Twitter. I'm like, look, spare me that shit. This is what I'm talking about people not being able to control their anger. Their knee-jerk reaction about this stupid match. It's, oh, I'm going to cancel my fucking network. I'm like, if you think that matters, go ahead, I guess. But, you know, I think this I'm going to stop watching shit is stupid because we know you're not going to stop watching. And maybe out of anger, people cancel their networks. But I've seen a lot of people years ago say they canceled their network and they're right back to being subscribers now. So I'm not really, it's one of these things that's just typical WWE. This shouldn't really surprise us. I don't know why I'm so mad. But you know you're going to get a lot of those people that are going to cancel their network. But I think that's kind of silly because up until today, up until right this minute, recently the network has been great. You know, the pay-per-views are good. Takeovers are off the fucking hook. All of the special events and the docuseries and all that stuff they do on the network, it's all solid stuff. Pay-per-views are usually good. Pay-per-views usually aren't our problem. NXT is usually not our problem. Our problem is the shitty piss-poor writing on Raw and SmackDown. So if we need to cancel anything, we need to cancel our cable so we're not watching USA Network and Fox. WWE Network's got content that I actually want to see, aside from this fucking show. So up until now, I think like canceling your network is just a way to tell the WWE you're not happy with them, which I understand. It's a protest type of thing. Go ahead, cancel it. Saves you $10 a month, whatever. You know, to me, it's not worth the hassle. To me, I like the network. To me, I use the network. You know, I'm not paying my $9.99 out of some loyalty to WWE. I'm paying $9.99 for a service that I use. So you know, for me, canceling my network isn't going to do anything. And it's certainly not going to check. You can't fix this now either. You know, you certainly can't fix what they did. It's like, that's the problem with WWE. They can't even, remember Daniel Bryan back in 2014? Holy shit, fans are freaking out. They're pitching a fit. They're screaming and yelling to where WWE had no choice but to listen. So they pivoted and moved the entire and jumbled up the entire WrestleMania 30 main event to put over Bryan huge. Instead of Randy Orton and Batista, you know, having a match and Triple H working with CM Punk, Randy Orton beats all three of them. Or, I'm sorry, Daniel Bryan beats all three of them. on his way to the title. And they fixed it. Can't fix this. What are you going to do? You know, even on SmackDown, even if the Fiend shows up on Friday, and I'm hoping everybody is able to get out of Saudi Arabia. There's talk of the coronavirus and some potential flight delays, and they have SmackDown tomorrow in Boston. So I don't know if we'll get a repeat of what happened last time or not. Hopefully everybody gets out. But there's no coming back from this, even if you brought out the Fiend on SmackDown and he immediately demands a rematch from Goldberg and he puts him down and beats him. You know, it would just tell you that WWE was like, whoops, let's go in the other direction here, but they're not going to do that. And even if they did, I don't think it would matter. The damage is done, damage is done. Ugh. I'm flabbergasted, y'all. Flabbergasted. I sometimes deep down try to give WWE a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt than I should. Sometimes I'm like, that company is so large and there's so many smart people there. Somebody's going to be the voice of reason. When you get enough people in a room and they're all spitballing and they're all talking, it's going to come up that this might not be the best idea. So if somebody doesn't say this, then this company's fucking doomed. If somebody doesn't speak up and say, what they think the backlash from this could be, then I don't know what the hell's going on behind the scenes there. And if people are saying that, what that tells me is Vince and whoever the fuck is making these decisions does not care at all what the fans want. They're going to do what they're going to do. And I don't know if they're trying to sell. They might be trying to sell WrestleMania. You got to remember that too, because, there's talks. There's been rumors that WWE's in talks with ESPN, potentially moving their pay-per-views to an OTT platform or something like that. And we're going to have to go back to paying for these again. So maybe, and we're at WrestleMania season right now. So if WWE wants to show ESPN or these other networks and platforms that they might be negotiating with, if they want to show them what WrestleMania is all about and jam-pack that card with names that maybe casual audiences recognize, Undertaker, Goldberg, Brock Lesnar, holy shit, these are big names. That might be their line of thinking. I think it's a stupid fucking line of thinking, but that might be why this decision was made as well, to load up WrestleMania with as many big names as possible. And now you got Goldberg with a title around his waist. You got Brock. Undertaker's probably going to work with AJ. You got Edge coming back. Cena's going to have a match. Roman, is going to do something. We might see The Rock turn up. There's going to be a lot of stars on this pay-per-view. I guess that might have been one of the reasons behind it. I certainly would like to know, like when Meltzer, does his reports and anybody else who talks to people in WWE, if they're able to ascertain any sort of idea of why this decision was made, because that's what I want to know. I want to know what's going on in those empty fucking brainless heads that are in charge of booking there. Like who's getting in a room, who's gathering around a table and everybody agrees this is a good idea? What the fuck? I mean, it's just really just full of yes men and just saying, I do not want to go against the boss, or I do not want to speak up or anything like that. This company that preaches so hard to grab the brass ring and all that shit, nobody has got the balls to say something. They're going to get fired if they say, hey, Vince, that's a stupid fucking idea. Maybe there is a lot of fear. They got rid of Michelle Wilson and George Barrios, who were in the company for over a decade as VPs and shit. And because they had a different vision, they gone. So maybe that's the mentality. Maybe it's like, we just got to go along with whatever the boss wants, because if we resist it, we're gone too. And that's sad. That's really sad. I wish WWE cared a fraction as much about creative that they do about that bottom line and making money. Because if they even put in half-assed fucking effort, that they do to turn in those profits, and making as much money as possible, the creative might not even be that bad if they consider that a priority. But they don't anymore. WWE's the Ice Capades. WWE is WWE. You're not going there for matches. You're not going there for one star. You're going there for the show. And they know that. And I think creatively things have taken a back seat because they know they can just throw anything, they can put anything out there on TV, and they're still going to do numbers. Yes, ratings are down a lot, but the way we watch television has changed. And WWE is pulling in a hell of a lot more money now than they were when the ratings were at their highest. So priorities are just different. It's about making money. And if WWE has ulterior motives for completely raping the Fiend character for a bigger picture here, for more money, makes me sick to my stomach as a wrestling fan that you're going to sacrifice somebody. I mean, Bray Wyatt's a great wrestler. Family is in the business. Dad wrestled. You know, this guy's got, you know, his roots are deep in wrestling. This guy is an excellent talent, you know, to have, and can be a humongous star. I guess I should let it go, huh? Got to move on to something else. Talk about a different match. But motherfucker, let me knock out a couple more super chats. One from Barry. Thank you for the $2, dude. Appreciate it. Maybe this is the start of a longer feud with them. Well, you mean Goldberg and The Fiend? I don't know. That was pretty decisive, though. You know, it would be one thing if, like, Goldberg caught him with a quick pin, you know, or something. And he kind of did. I mean, The Fiend bounced right back up after the pin, but he did hit him with like 4 spears and a jackhammer. So Goldberg was putting him down. He was hurting him. So if this was something weird where he got some sort of a fluke win, then, you know, Funhouse Bray could show up on SmackDown. You stole something from me and I want it back and all of that. Maybe. Maybe. I still think it would have been damaging, but maybe. But the way they did it here looked pretty definitive to me. To me, it looked like not only did Goldberg beat The Fiend, but they're done. Fiend's off to wrestle somebody else, and so is Goldberg. No rematch. It's the way I feel. But I hope I'm wrong. Stinky Toffee 12. Thank you, man. Thanks for the $2. Matt Riddle coming to beat Goldberg, I hope. I would love that. It ain't going to happen. But it would be so funny if, like, Matt Riddle came out like his typical stoner Matt Riddle. Goldberg's in the ring celebrating on Friday, and then Matt Riddle comes down to the ring. What's up, bro? Remember me? Remember me? Hey, if you really want to shut me up, why don't you grant me a match at WrestleMania for that blue sweet-ass trophy on your shoulder right there? And if you beat me and you prove me wrong, you'll never hear from me again, bro. Never. I won't even talk to you anymore. I won't even come to the main roster. I'll just stay on NXT, and you'll never hear from me again. Goldberg accepts the challenge, and the whole time you can have Matt Riddle just being casual about it. He'll be on NXT with his broserweight buddy, Pete Dunne. Just talking about, yeah, man, I got to go to the main roster and challenge the fucking idiot Bill. Got to challenge William, you know, and then he goes into WrestleMania and wins the belt. But he's not even like celebrating like Shawn Michaels, the boyhood dream. He's just like, cool, you know, and he just walks out, takes the belt back to NXT, almost like not understanding that he's the Universal Champion. Just be like, yeah, I got another member of our team. Now the 4 of us can smoke joints together, and it can be Pete and Matt and the trophy and the Universal title. And maybe Matt Riddle is just such a stoner fuck that he doesn't even understand. He's back in NXT with the belt, and they're like, dude, you kind of need to be on the main roster now. You're their champion. What are you doing here? Well, I just thought I'd come back here, man. I don't know. It might be fun. At this point, I'm willing to accept anything. Jesus Christ. Yikes. Yeah, after that match, needless to say, I had a little help from my green friend today, too, before I came up live. Ratnick, thanks for the $5, bro. How much extra money do you think the title change could cost Saudi Arabia? $5 million. Well, that's what we speculated. I'm asking you guys. I'm not saying that for sure. I'm just wondering if that could be a possibility. Maybe Saudi wants things happening. Hey, if we're going to pay you all this money, you need to give us a title change. And I think that's a really shitty way to do business, because you shouldn't do title changes because somebody pays for one. You know how fucked up that sounds? God, just saying it out loud makes me cringe, makes my inner wrestling fan, you know, the kid that grew up in the early 80s, you know, watching wrestling, that just makes me crumble inside, that's the way decisions are made now. You know, title changes should happen when they're built to it, you know, and when it's necessary and when it's going to be a big deal and all this stuff, not just for some stupid ass flimsy reason where you completely sacrifice another talent. I feel like there's guys like Bray Wyatt now and Rusev and Strowman, especially Strowman. So many guys that could just be stars. So many guys that could be showing up at WrestleMania 20 years from now for the big nostalgia match that are just fucking destroyed over just years of shit-ass booking. You know, this is going to haunt WWE in the long term. And I can't believe that they went from being a company that understood this stuff in the Attitude Era. They saw all the dinosaurs on the other show, so they built new stars, and they did it well. Rock, Stone Cold, DX, Edge, Christian, Kane, the list goes on and on. They were fabulous at building stars. What the fuck changed? You know, like, I don't understand. How come you can't do it anymore? Because you certainly have guys that are over at one point or the other. The Fiend, Braun Strowman, Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe. All these guys have been super crazy, over the top over. And many of them have had no taste with gold. And if they have, it's just been a small taste, like Kevin Owens and his brief run as Universal Champion. But, you know, other than that, like, they don't pull the trigger on anybody. And I just think it's such a horrid mistake that eventually will wind up biting them in the ass. Mark my words. Bite them right in their stupid ass. All right, I know I've seen there's more super chats. I got to get to them. Oh, how Wheezy, thank you if you're in here doing some house cleaning for me. I appreciate that. I wasn't really looking at that chat. I got to get to another. Harvey Walsh, thank you, brother, for the $2. Is a guaranteed Goldberg win, lose at WrestleMania? Is it guaranteed Goldberg will lose at WrestleMania? I fucking hope so. But it depends. I guess we'll know more on Friday. We'll know more tomorrow because I want to know what direction they're going. I want to know who his opponent's going to be. Is it going to be Roman? Is it going to be Spear versus Spear? Or is it going to be Cena? And there's a lot of talk right now that it is going to be Roman. And again, like that match, when we talked about it before, because fans speculated on it, you know, that was one of the reasons why I said it wasn't going to happen. Oh, Goldberg might be the Fiend, so he can face Roman at WrestleMania. I'm like, do you think that match will be any good? I don't. I don't think it'll be any better than the Fiend and Goldberg, and that was a pile of shit today. So, like, what's Roman and Goldberg going to look like? You know, Roman's going to do his best. I think Roman did his best with The Undertaker a few years ago, and that match sucked. Roman's going to work his ass off to make Goldberg look as good as possible, but in the end, I just given Roman's style and Goldberg's limited style, the match is going to be a bowl of dog shit. Or a bowl of dog food or something. I don't know. But yeah, I would think a Goldberg loss is a guarantee, but at this point, who knows, man? I was way wrong about today, too. Ghost XX95. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for the $10. AEW is going to capitalize in this. I hope they do. I hope AEW spoofs it. I hope they, just do some little snide comment on Dynamite or maybe at Revolution, or just, hey, we don't disappoint the fans in this company or something like that because they're doing a great job. I loved last night's show. Great. I'm ready for Saturday, man. I'm ready. And we're going to get into AEW here a little bit later. But I'm ready for Revolution. I think the matches that are listed for the card are great. It's one of the better built pay-per-views that I can remember in quite some time. Everything seems to be clicking for them. Dynamites have been strong. They've been dominant in the ratings. Again, last night, for the past 3 weeks, after NXT went on a run, I was voting them as the better show for 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row, even though they were losing in the ratings. But the last 3 weeks, I think AEW's crushed them. And last night was no different. I think Dynamite was a far better show than AEW. So I'm ready for Revolution. And I hope AEW does say something about it and poke fun a little bit at WWE because they're fucking dumb, man. AJ Daniels, good to see you, man. Thank you for the $5. I appreciate it. How people feel right now is how I felt when Charlotte eliminated Shayna Baszler at the Rumble, minus the cancel the network talk. Wow. Well, I understand. I understand about being disappointed in outcomes. To me, I never care. I understand if somebody's upset by something like you're talking about. Oh, Charlotte eliminating Baszler, that sucked. I wanted it to be the other way around. All that's fine because you have the right to be upset or not upset about anything, but none of that stuff I consider to be damaging. Look at what Shayna Baszler went on to do. Show up on Raw, took a chunk out of Becky's neck. She's probably going to go on to win the Elimination Chamber and challenge Becky and possibly win the title at WrestleMania, which means her getting dumped out by Charlotte doesn't mean jack shit at the Royal Rumble. So no damage was done there. So it's things like that I don't get mad about because at the end of the day, I don't care and everything can be recoverable. But this just seems so unrecoverable. It's deleted, lost, buried, killed forever, and there's no bringing it back. And that's where my anger comes from. That's what sparks my anger is that I feel like the WWE did a really stupid thing that they can't fix. Where the Charlotte Shayna thing, at least Charlotte's a main star. At least she's a top star. At least she's on TV, wrestling full time and all of that. And it's not like and I love Trish, don't get me wrong, but I wouldn't have wanted to see Trish Stratus toss out Shayna Baszler in the Rumble. That wouldn't have made sense to me. Trish is a housewife. She's a mom, a mother of two, a stay-at-home mother of two or some shit. She's getting in the ring and beat this MMA chick? No way. So, I understand when fans get upset about, a certain outcome, but to me, I'm never mad. I'm never over the top, head exploding angry because it doesn't matter. But today was the exception to the rule. I think it does matter. Thank you for the puke emoji, Daniel Rodriguez, and thank you for the $1. I'm right there with you. I feel your pain and I feel your puke. And you've shot me back with another $2 right after that. Thank you, brother. I'm trying to go to WrestleMania 37 because WrestleMania 36 is no good. Yeah, it's not looking good. I'm glad I'm not going to this WrestleMania. I'm not really liking the way the card is shaping up now. A couple of weeks ago, I liked the way it was shaping up, but I'm not really liking the looks of it as we speak right now. And I think we'll have a lot of questions answered tomorrow night after SmackDown. But Daniel, if you head to LA next year for WrestleMania, hit me up, DM me on Twitter. I will be there. We'll meet up and we'll have a cold one. All right, am I done with the fucking super chats? Great. All right, let's start talking about some of the other match outcomes here of this shit-ass pay-per-view. So we had Goldberg winning the Universal title. We all know that. That sucks. let's rewind, I guess, all the way back to the beginning. I had to get up at 9 a.m. to watch this, so I didn't watch any of the pre-show, but I guess on the pre-show they had Anderson and Gallows defeated the Viking Raiders. I didn't even see that match. That sucks. So they won that. In a match that I got wrong, it opened the show. It was that Tuwake Trophy Gauntlet match thing, and it opened up with R-Truth. He was the first one out there. Normally I have detailed notes written here, guys. I'm just going by memory here. But R-Truth gets out there first, and he survives. Who did he survive first? He beat... I forgot who he beat Lashley. Then he beat Andrade. And then he beat Eric Rowan by disqualification until AJ Styles came out and eliminated R-Truth. And I think that left Rey Mysterio. It was supposed to be Rusev. Rusev got pulled due to contract negotiations currently with WWE right now. Mysterio's music hits, and he doesn't come out. And I didn't even see this coming until Rey didn't come out. As soon as Rey wasn't coming out, I'm like, Undertaker, we know he's there. They've been rumored, the match has been rumored for WrestleMania. AJ's kind of teased it the last couple of weeks on Raw. We see no Rey. They cut to backstage to see Rey Mysterio getting beat up by Gallows and Anderson, and then AJ gets on the mic and says, I win! Give me the trophy! You know 100%, no doubt about it. Gong, lights go out. Undertaker comes all the way down the ring, 15.5-minute long entrance, gets in the ring, choke slams AJ Styles with his gear on. Hat, coat, the whole deal. Choke slams AJ Styles, puts him down, and the Undertaker wins the trophy gauntlet thing. So that set your table there for an Undertaker and AJ Styles match, and on paper, that's a really great looking match. Would have looked greater 10 years ago. So I guess that's not too horrible, and if the Undertaker absolutely has to have a match at WrestleMania, at least it's with somebody like AJ, and it reduces the likelihood that it would suck. But for me, the appearance that we got here for The Undertaker today, that's the way I would like to see all of The Undertaker's appearances go. If he's going to come in at WrestleMania, I've mentioned that the past couple of weeks too. If you bring in Undertaker, you're going to want to do something with him or Sting or anything like that. Just do a big segment, a legend segment in the ring where The Undertaker comes down, has a stare down with somebody, choke slams someone, and that's it. Even though this was technically a match, I don't necessarily need to see The Undertaker have a full match. So it looks like we're going to get that anyway, though, at WrestleMania, and it's going to be Undertaker and AJ Styles, and it's a great match for AJ. Hey, I'm happy for him. He now gets to say, hey, I worked with The Undertaker at WrestleMania. That's a pretty fun thing to get to say that you did in your career. So I'm happy for him, but, it's just I don't need to see The Undertaker. I don't need to see The Undertaker and Goldberg have matches at WrestleMania. Plus, we're going to get Cena and Lesnar. I'll tell you what, we better not get a Triple H match. Jesus, not with all these old farts on the show. So anyway, The Undertaker was kind of a nice surprise, but not really a surprise when you realized what was happening there, and it set up AJ and Taker at Mania. In one match I did get right, the sole title change that I predicted to happen on the show. I thought everybody was going to retain their belts, but since they were in Saudi Arabia, I'm like, well, maybe they should do one title change. And if they did, I think the SmackDown Tag Team titles would be a good title to have change hands because Morrison is back. They've reunited him with The Miz. You should probably put the belt on them now while they're back together and probably is about as hot as they're going to get, and then you'll break them up and do something down the line. And I thought they would win, and they did. They defeated the New Day to capture the SmackDown Tag Team titles, and hopefully this will lead to more funny things and more funny kind of vignettes and promos and segments they do with Miz and Morrison. I'd like to do a lot more off-site stuff. I loved it when, like, Los Guerreros, when Eddie and Chavo would go raise hell all over town and stuff. I want to see some shit like that with Miz and Morrison. I'm hoping they give us a little more like we had from them back like 10 years ago. And it was interesting, too. I was wondering on Twitter, until you guys reminded me, I'm like, what's the longest gap ever for a tag team to go between tag team titles? They've got to be up there because it's been over 10 years since they were champions. Might have been 12 years since they were champions. But I think the winners are the New Age Outlaws. They went that long run when they came back a few years ago and won the titles after 14 or 15 years. So I think it's the Outlaws. I don't even think the Rock and Roll Express really qualify because they've been winning titles, all throughout their post NWA run and shit. They've still been working indies and doing stuff and winning random sets of titles. So I don't even think they really count. But just the time gap between tag team title reigns for one team, I think it's Outlaws and Miz and Morrison. Otherwise, we'll have to do a little research to see if there's anybody that breaks that record. A match, I don't know when this was announced. It just started happening, so I didn't see it announced on the pre-show or anything like that. But they had Angel Garza taking on Humberto Carrillo again. They had an excellent match this past week on Raw. This one was very good too, and Garza, much like last week, got the victory here as well. Both these guys are really good, and their matches were off the hook. We had the Raw Tag Team Champions, Seth Rollins and Murphy, retaining against the Street Profits. A lot of people are ready to see the Street Profits win the Raw Tag Team titles. I wouldn't be opposed to it. I love the Street Profits. I think Montez Ford is a fucking star in the making. So's his girlfriend or wife. And I thought the match he had last week with Seth Rollins on Raw was really good, but I didn't feel like it was going to happen here. Murphy just joined this group. They've got some gold on him now. You know, let's keep some gold on Murphy as long as possible. And then eventually, I'm sure they'll drop him to the Street Profits down the line. I just didn't see it happening here. We knew we were going to get a Mansoor match, and I don't know, again, much like the Garza and Humberto match, I don't know when this was announced, but Mansoor was hinting on social media that he was going to have a match. I pitched him entering the Trophy Gauntlet match, thought maybe he would do that. But instead, it's just a straight one-on-one match with Ziggler. Ziggler gave him a hell of the match. It was pretty good, and you knew Ziggler was going to job for him, and he did. Ziggler went out there and did his job. Went out there and earned that Saudi money, putting over Mansoor, and that's the only time this guy ever fucking wrestles is on these Saudi Arabia shows. And he's pretty good. I think I've seen him have one match, maybe two in NXT. Other than that, he's only featured here. But I'm not seeing like a whole lot of problems with the guy. You know, he seems like he the cat meowing somewhere. He seems like he carries himself well. He can speak. He doesn't seem like nervous or weird or anything like that. He's pretty decent in the ring. I don't think he's like not ready or anything. So I don't know why he's only featured here and nowhere else, and why WWE doesn't want to do anything else with him. But he finally got a pretty big victory here over his biggest opponent to date, former world champion, defeating Dolph Ziggler. So I guess we'll see you later, Mansoor. We'll see you on the next Saudi show. Up next, we had the WWE title match, Brock Lesnar taking on Ricochet. This was not going to be a surprise here. I was just hoping that it wouldn't be a Kofi-Brock match, and Brock would give Ricochet like 8 minutes. I think they got 2. So I was like, man, if we could just get like 8 minutes. And I know that sounds short, but it's actually a lot, especially for the way Ricochet wrestles and shit. I think if Brock and Ricochet had 8 minutes, it would be fabulous, but I think we got about 2. Ricochet just got beat down right off the bat. F5'd and pinned, and that was it. So that's a match and an outcome I didn't care about. You know, yeah, Ricochet should get squashed. No big deal there. Brock's going on to face McIntyre. The writing's on the wall there. That's set in stone. You're not going to tinker with that and put the belt on fucking Ricochet. So I wasn't surprised about that match. I just wish it would have gone a couple of more minutes longer. But in the grand scheme of things, it's a match that doesn't even bother me, based on what we would see later. Roman Reigns taking on King Corbin. Baron Corbin came down there in the big Tyson Fury entrance on his throne and all that bullshit steel cage match. Roman beat him, and they've already, oh my God, I'm going to have a brainerism. They've already announced a rematch for tomorrow. So not only have we gotten Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin 100 fucking times, what we think is going to be the blow-off at Super Showdown, not even 10 minutes after the damn match is over, they announce a rematch tomorrow on SmackDown, Roman Reigns versus Baron Corbin. So we get it again. Yay! But anyway, at least he lost in the cage match, and that was that. The women's title was on the line. Second women's match now in Saudi Arabia. Natalya and Lacey worked the first one. This one is women's champion Bayley defending the title against Naomi. Now, Bayley gets to be the first person to defend a women's championship in the country, so that's pretty cool. And again, I predicted this right. I was not expecting Naomi to win this. I think Bayley needs to go into Mania as champion. That's what makes the most sense. And I loved what she did, you know, because the ladies, because they're all weird over there, that they wear shirts and completely dress and cover their entire bodies, or they're committing some sort of sin or some shit. So they're wearing t-shirts. So Bayley has got Naomi down like on her stomach, and she just takes her back leg and hooks her shoe into the back of the t-shirt. What do they call it? Fucking Texas handcuff. I forget the name of that. But she basically just pins Naomi down. And what did she do with her there? Did she roll her over and pin her, or did she submit her? I can't even remember what happened. I just remember the shoe spot. Doesn't matter. She tied up Naomi's feet, got the victory that way. Doesn't fucking matter. The show was stupid. And then, of course, that leaves us with the main event, and we all know what happened there. So how do my predictions do? I got the gauntlet match wrong. I'm going to do the ones I got wrong. Gauntlet match wrong. and The Fiend wrong. That was it, of the ones I predicted anyway. But Luke Gallows and Anderson over the Viking Raiders, Carrillo and Garza, and Mansoor and Ziggler, I didn't even know about. So yeah, Goldberg losing the belts, and the gauntlet match is really all I predicted incorrectly on that show. But man, I was real wrong on that stuff. We're gonna get into the AEW results too, or the AEW predictions. Let me go back over here to the chat. Pretty good audience in here. We had an excellent audience for Monday night as well. I feel like my channel is back to getting its big boy numbers, so that's kind of a relief. Keep smashing that thumbs up button if you don't mind. For my mods in here, I appreciate you guys working overtime. Looks like we got a few trolleys in here, but it happens, whatever. Some dumbass dickless troll is never going to upset me more than the Fiend losing tonight, so you guys can troll it up. I don't care. Millennial Smart, thank you for the $5, dude. Hey, random question. Do you think in wrestling could have a similar feud? I'm sorry, I can't read. Hey, random question. Who do you think in wrestling could have a feud similar to Jericho and Benoit in 2000, 2001? Big fan, by the way. Well, thank you, Millennial Smart. Jericho and Benoit in 2000, 2001, considering who they have now. Damn, lots of guys. Oh, man, I got to think more. I mean, I don't know if you're thinking of, like, you want guys the same size, or if it can just be anybody, maybe similar positions on the card. I think who had a chance to be that, and maybe was for a short time because their feud was fun, is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And they have a lot of history, just like Benoit and Jericho did. But Sami is not really himself. But I liked the first couple of years there, the way the feud had started, and then they patched things up, and then they rekindled the feud, and it was kind of like this they're always going to have issues with each other. When Sami Zayn would follow Kevin Owens to the other brand when he switched over and shit like that. So maybe them. Other than that, I gotta think more about main roster. I think a feud like that might even be better in like NXT or something for like North American title. Having two guys like a Keith Lee and a Dominik Dijakovic or something. I don't know. Hey, Colin's right. There's a silver lining here. Miz and Morrison are champs again, so at least that's good. I guess so. But man, yeah, I'm sorry for kind of my choppy and my choppy rant there at the beginning. I was almost just kind of at a loss. I'm like, I just can't believe they did this. To me, it's just the dumbest fucking thing they could have done. And I don't know. I don't often get discouraged. I don't often sit here and be like, oh my God, the wrestling business is never going to recover. I think fans are so over dramatic. They're like little girls. So I usually don't like to be like that, and I hate that I have to be like that, but sometimes WWE just drives even the most sane wrestling fan into complete and total insanity. And that's what they've done to me today, because I'm just at a loss. I cannot believe that they thought that was a good idea. I can't believe that in the long run they think that would be better for business, and that is a good use for Bray Wyatt. I would not have even minded if for some reason they just got a hard-on for Bill Goldberg again and they wanted to put a belt back on him. Even if they wanted to do that, I'd be like, all right, fine, whatever. Just not at the expense of someone that you're building so much, you know, that this character that's different and finally is a character that the fans seem to be into, something that WWE created themselves that isn't stupid and cheesy. I mean, it's hokey a little bit, but, you know, for the most part, it's entertaining. Bray Wyatt's an extremely entertaining guy. He's done well with the Fiend character, both on the scary side of things and on the funhouse side of things. It's been very well done and very entertaining. So to destroy it, you know, just to put over, you know, a 53-year-old guy, I just wish somebody else random would have been champion. You know, I just wish somebody else, you know, would have had the belt. Like a Daniel Bryan, or I mean, somebody like that, to where if they lost, yes, it would have sucked, but it wouldn't have had any like lasting company effects, to where I think they had a chance here to really have Bray Wyatt and the Fiend character be a moneymaker for many years to come. And I just can't see a scenario now where the fans are really going to take him seriously at all. I'm not. I'm never going to believe in that character again. No matter what they do. There's like literally no coming back from that. And that's a bold statement for me to make. I usually don't believe in damage being done that much to people. I think it's usually the fans' anger overtaking, you know, like I said, critical thought. But in this case, I really think that they've fucked themselves hard, and they deserve it. I hope they get everything they deserve with a decision like that, you know? I don't know what Bray Wyatt's got to be thinking. He's probably like, fuck, you know? And a lot of people, again, you know, they overreact. Oh, Bray Wyatt should leave the company and shit. I'm like, he was champion, don't forget. You know, let's not go overboard. This guy's not Mojo Rawley. I just think this particular decision was very, very, very stupid. I think in the long run, Bray Wyatt is still better off there. You know, he's still going to, you know, make money and shit like that. And he's certainly not, you know, a Matt Hardy level or somebody, or a Luke Harper. Or, oh, you should just go to AEW. He'll be better off. He was just champion. You can't be better off than that. But this loss is just so devastating. You know, it makes us all think crazy things, you know. Maybe you should go to AEW. I love it because they certainly wouldn't do anything like this. You know, they got sense enough not to make these stupid decisions, you know, that might be good short term, but are disastrous long term. And that's just because not enough thought goes into shit in WWE. You know, I want to know who called for this? It had to be Vince. You think this is something Triple H would have gone for? I don't think so. You think Triple H is sitting there in a meeting? You know, should we put the belt on? We should put it on Goldberg. Let's just let's just spear and jackhammer the Fiend and end him. There's only one guy that can think this is a good idea. Oh my God. Well, this is an interesting live stream, isn't it? Just me sitting here, flabbergasted, bamboozled, flummoxed. My God. WWE, what have you done to me? You've made me go insane. You've made me go mental. Here I am sitting here completely speechless. But I want to move on because I have to get out of here. I got to head off to work soon. And I also want to predict the entire AEW Revolution pay-per-view that's coming up this Saturday. Now, this Saturday's Winged Eagle podcast will be a primetime show. It's not going to air at 3 p.m. because that's going to be right before the pay-per-view starts. So the podcast will come after the pay-per-view. We'll review the pay-per-view and talk about it. And then whatever's left, we'll discuss SmackDown and the fallout from today's Super Showdown. So keep a lookout for that on Saturday on the channel. I'll be up here as soon as AEW Revolution concludes. We'll do a live stream talking about everything. Let me turn that down. But in the meantime, we're going to predict the pay-per-view here. And since this is coming in at the end of the podcast here, I actually might pull these predictions off tonight and throw them up as a mic drop tomorrow. And speaking of little videos, on my channel yesterday, I uploaded a quick little 4-minute video, kind of like a time-lapse thing, showcasing all of my wrestling magazines, like every single one that I still have. Sold like close to 100 of them years ago, like 15 years ago on eBay, but I still have a ton left. And I showcased them and went through them all in a short YouTube video. It's on my channel right now, so you guys can check that out too. But let's get into the AEW Revolution predictions. I am ready for this show. This is coming to us this coming Saturday night. And like I said, I'll be up here immediately following the show with a Winged Eagle podcast where we will go through the results of everything that we see at Revolution. And based off what we saw on Super Showdown today, I got a feeling this pay-per-view is going to be really good. And it looks amazing on paper. It's been a really well-built pay-per-view. You can't say that it's not. Even if you're an AEW criticizer or a critic of AEW, you can't say that they haven't done a great job building this thing, because they've really given time to all of these angles and they've really spent time getting them all over and furthering the issues and setting them up, because they have, you know, pay-per-views aren't every 2 weeks in AEW like they are in WWE. Isn't Elimination Chamber in like 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks? I think it's 1 week from this Sunday. We got another fucking pay-per-view in WWE. You know, so AEW's got time to long-term book this stuff. And they've been doing really well with it. And I've enjoyed everything they've done on TV leading up to this. So let's go ahead and predict AEW Revolution, like I said, is this Saturday, February 29th. And we're going to run through all the matches here. I'm going to start kind of at the bottom of the card. According to what I have 8 matches. Now, I'm hoping this is all of them, but I might be missing one. If I am, please correct me in the comments below. But here's what I've got for Revolution this Saturday. We've got the Dark Order taking on SCU. Now, there's been a lot of speculation of who the Exalted One is on Dynamite last night. Evil Uno referred to somebody, I think Daniels, being obsolete. And Matt Hardy tweeted something out about being exalting. So there's a lot of teasing there. And Matt Hardy as well has been mentioning on Twitter how he's been pulled in many different directions. And the rumor now, and the word is, according to I think Meltzer and a few others, is that WWE has actually offered Matt Hardy a new contract that involves him being in NXT, maybe as a trainer or taking maybe a coaching role there. and maybe he can be on TV and do that weird woken shit there. And they've probably offered him a pretty lucrative deal because they know if he goes to AEW, he will make a splash. He will be on TV and he will be entertaining. So maybe WWE just wants to prevent that, but they also don't want to use him on their own show. So maybe giving him a contract in NXT keeps him around. And he mentioned on Twitter how he's being pulled in multiple directions and he doesn't know what the future holds yet for the broken one. So whatever Matt Hardy does, I think that's still up in the air, but I think it's safe to say he won't be at Revolution because it's the day before his contract is up and he can't be there. So I don't think he's going to show up on Saturday to get involved in the Dark Order or SCU match or anything. And as long as there's not a swerve like the Exalted One is revealed to us, which it could be, I think another one of the names is Christopher Daniels. I mentioned that right from the start weeks ago. I think back in November, I mentioned that he could be possibly behind this because of his history as the Fallen Angel gimmick and shit. So I think he would be a good person to head up the Dark Order if they wanted to turn him or whatever. But if we don't see any sort of a swerve, any sort of a heel turn at all, I still think you have to have the Dark Order win. I just think you do, just to continue to build the, who's behind it all kind of thing, but AEW is weird. They could have SCU win here, but in this match, I'd probably put over the Dark Order. We've got Darby Allin taking on Sammy Guevara. I'm ready for this one. I like this match. This is going to be fun because both these guys are small and young and athletic and talented, and it's been a pretty fun little build between the two because I also think that they're kind of like a natural rivalry because they're very different. Sammy Guevara is kind of like the gum-chewing prick, the teenage kid that's all about his social media and, and his stupid haircut and his stupid fucking music that I'm sure he listens to, where Darby Allin is a little bit more of a rebel, a little bit more of a bad boy, is not really concerned with Instagram and stupid shit like that. And it's just kind of, it's like John Cena and Edge, rock and roll and rap, it's kind of like that. And I'm really interested to see this match. But since, Darby's been on the shelf for a little bit, and since he took a skateboard to the throat, I'm going to go with Darby Allin to get the victory there over Sammy Guevara. Another match that I'm really looking forward to, believe it or not, Jake Hager and Dustin Rhodes. Jake Hager's first time in an AEW ring, taking on Dustin Rhodes, who has been proving every single week on TV that he is just as good as he was in 1996. Fucker hasn't missed a beat. He does not get enough credit for being the best old man in the ring right now. Undertaker, DDP, Goldberg, anybody else that's around that age is nothing compared to him in the ring. Dustin is so good. It's scary how good he is. Jericho's another guy. Jericho is just not as good. Dustin still moves just like he did. Everybody else you can see slow down. Goldberg does not look like the same Goldberg as 20 years ago. Jericho definitely doesn't look like the same Jericho as 20 years ago in the ring. Anybody else, normally that's the case for him because that's just that's just nature. When you get older, you're not going to be as good. But Dustin Rhodes, the way he moves around in that ring is pretty fucking impressive. And I think the match with Jake Hager is going to be fun. But Dustin's got to go down. I mean, Hager hasn't even had a match yet. He is the muscle in the inner circle. He's this MMA guy. Can't lose to Dustin. You got to beat Dustin. You got to beat Dustin. You got to beat him down. He's got to beat Dustin decisively. So I'm going with Jake Hager for the dominant win over Dustin. Now, Dustin will have some offense. Don't get me wrong. It'll be a match. It'll go 10 minutes or something. But in the end, I think it'll be like a submission or something for Jake Hager. Match like that can't be a roll-up. Jake Hager's got to showcase his badassness in this match, especially since it's his first match in the company. Here's an interesting one that I really like. It was announced last night. We had AEW Dynamite open up with the 30-minute Iron Man match between Pac and Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega won that match in sudden death. I believe it was 2-1, right, was the final score. So that issue apparently is dead and buried. After the match, Pac goes up to the stage to be interviewed by Tony Schiavone, and just randomly, Orange Cassidy just walks out there. Just walks out to the ramp, and I think Pac might have even hit him or punched him or some shit, right? So right after that, the Best Friends have a match, and Orange Cassidy's out there with them. They win, and they're interviewed in the ring, and that's when Tony Schiavone makes the announcement that Orange Cassidy has been booked in a match with Pac at Revolution. And you know what? I like this. I like that they're doing it because there's always been a lot of Orange Cassidy debate. You know, this guy, he's a joke, and he just does these fake little kicks, and he doesn't care, and he just sits in the ring with his hands in his pockets. What a fucking disgrace. It's people like this that are killing the business. All those idiotic, brain-dead fucking statements you hear from these morons who just can't fucking stand AEW for some reason. Here we got a company that's like 16 and 20 weeks old, and you have idiots on social media saying, you know, they're kind of just losing their luster with me. You know, I kind of think they've plateaued. You're a 3-month-old fucking company. What do you mean you've plateaued? Jesus Christ, what kind of attention span do these people have? I think for a company that's only 20 weeks old or 15 weeks old, whatever it is, I think it's like 20 weeks old or 21 weeks old now. For a company that's only that old, I think they're doing a hell of a job. Their TV show looks great. There's people in the audience. It's produced well. They're booking pay-per-views. They're selling pay-per-views. They've got action figures. They've got TV deals. Explain to me how this company is going down the toilet. Explain to me how this company is failing. This is such a stupid concept from people that just flat out do not like them and their fans. But if you are looking at AEW, you should be impressed that they are this good this early on in their lifespan. Look at the way TNA started with these weekly pay-per-views and these weak-ass little buildings. And, you know, they didn't have the funding or the money behind them to really get them going. AEW can afford talent and they can afford to do things. And I think they're great. I think they're doing a great job. And I think NXT, the funny thing is every time I've been, last couple of weeks, I've been thinking this, NXT is always a good show, but the last few weeks, AEW to me has just been far better. And they've been beating them pretty handily in the ratings and stuff. And it makes me think that I don't think the WWE's intention was to ever defeat AEW in the ratings. I don't even think that was really their goal. All they wanted to do was hinder their growth. All they wanted to do was take audience members away from them. And to them, that was worth moving NXT off of the network and putting it on USA. So it could go head to head with them. Not necessarily to beat them, but to hurt them. Which is exactly what WWE criticized WCW for back in the day. They're such hypocritical assholes. I specifically remember in DVDs and in interviews, Vince McMahon talking about the Monday Night Wars and saying, you know, we worry about our business. We try to help ourselves, not really worried about hurting others. And Ted Turner could have put his show on any other night of the week, you know, and split the audience or had his own special night or whatever. He chose to come head to head against us. Now, AEW kind of started it when they went on Wednesdays too, but at that time, NXT was a 1-hour show on the network. So they countered that by now going on cable to purposely try to take away ratings from AEW, and it's worked. You know, AEW hasn't even cracked 1 million viewers one week, except for maybe one. So I think they would be getting over that 1 million viewership easily if NXT wasn't going head to head with them. But either way, I don't know if WWE really gives a shit about beating AEW because their Raw and SmackDown shows double and sometimes triple what AEW gets. So I don't think that's not their number one goal. They just want to slow them down. They just want to put obstacles and roadblocks in front of them. And that's exactly what NXT on USA for 2 hours is. I don't even think they're trying to win in the ratings. I think they're just trying to slow down the ratings of AEW. But to say that this company's, they're not perfect. They're going to make wrong moves. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to do things wrong from time to time because that's what any upstart company would do. But they're allowed those growing pains. They're allowed to make those mistakes. They're allowed to learn and grow as they go. And for these fans with the attention span of a fucking gerbil, after 3 months, are like, oh, this company's going down the shitter. Like, it's 3 months. Jesus, talk to me in 3 years, okay? Then we can start evaluating things a little bit more. But you've got no basis for comparison. The company is very, very short-lived. It just started on fucking Halloween. And here we're trying to determine and trying to say that we know what's going to happen to them in the long run. Get the fuck out of here. You know, I think they're going to be around for a long time. That's what they've been showing me. And I think with them not doing house shows and having pay-per-views not every 2 fucking hours, that it allows them to concentrate more creatively, book more long-term, and have more cohesive, good stories to tell. Much better than WWE. It's just in and out. Just shit day in, day out. You know, garbage in, garbage out. They just completely make things up, fly by the seat of their pants, write down TV over lunch, rewrite it 6 times right before bell time, and then it's all changed by the next week. You know, AEW, I think, has their shit together a little bit more in that respect of creative, you know, and being able to, you know, book things long term. So anyway, I think the point I was trying to make about all this is about the Pac and Orange Cassidy match, because it's sparked so much debate on social media about Orange Cassidy. And to me, there should be no debate. The fact that there is a debate shows me how stupid wrestling fans can be, because the debate is settled when you see Orange Cassidy come out on AEW. When Pac was doing his interview and Orange Cassidy walked out during that, did you hear the crowd? Popped their balls off. Popped their balls off. That should settle any debate right there. The crowd is reacting positively to somebody. And for those people that really know Orange Cassidy and knows what he's capable of and maybe watch him on the indies sometimes, guess what? He actually can wrestle. He can go. He's super athletic. Who the fuck can do a nip up with their hands in their pockets? Why don't you try it before you tell me this guy can't wrestle? Go right now. Lay on your carpet. Go lay on your bedroom floor right now. Put your hands in your pockets. Try to kip up. I'll wait. You can't do it. And you're going to tell me this guy can't wrestle? Get the fuck out of here. His gimmick is to be this I don't give a shit type of guy, which I kind of think is entertaining. And provided that he's not winning world titles with his hands in his pockets, I don't have an issue with the guy. If he's defeating Chris Jericho with his hands in his pockets, that's one thing. But when he's just being a small part of the show, hugging the best friends, popping the crowd, how in the fuck is that ruining the business? How in the fuck are thousands of people in the arena having a great time ruining the business? Jim Cornette, I'm talking to you. Explain that to me. You know what it sounds like when somebody tries to criticize Orange Cassidy and tries to tell the fans what they should like and what they should not like and what's best for wrestling or best for business? Who does that sound like? That sounds like that company that we all hate called the WWE. They're the ones that try to tell us stuff like that. We know what's best for you. We know what you want to see. We know what you should cheer for and what you should not cheer for. That's why guys like Roman Reigns and John Cena have been shoved up our asses for years, because WWE doesn't give a fuck what the fans want. They give a fuck what they want. So when you have these fans out there smugly proclaiming that Orange Cassidy is bad for the business and he's a joke and he's ruining wrestling, well, when I see 10,000 people screaming their balls off for the guy, I don't see how that translates into he's ruining wrestling. I think you are a self-centered asshole, and you're trying to tell other people what they should like and what they should not like and the way wrestling should be. And that's the exact type of arrogance that we all hate from the WWE. And then you're going to turn around and be the same way? Go fuck yourself. I think there's way too many of those fans out there. So I think what might be happening here with the Pac and Orange Cassidy match is AEW, much like the Nightmare Collective, they hear the fans' complaints, okay, this is not working, so let's drop it. And maybe they're hearing the same thing with Orange Cassidy. I'm like, you know what? We're tired of this guy who's a great kid, who's over with the audience. We're tired of him getting all of this shit from the audience. So let's show the audience that he can wrestle, because he ain't going to be able to go in there and work that whole match with Pac with his hands in his pockets. So what's going to happen here is Pac is going to murder him. He's going to murder him. Like I said, if Orange Cassidy is winning world titles with his hands in his pockets, then I might be against it. But if he's just a small part of the show and now he's got a chance to show off what he can do in the ring, and he will have some more moves, and you'll see him do some offense in the match, and he'll probably, have Pac on the ropes a couple times. But in the end, Pac is too big, too strong, too athletic, too good of a wrestler, and he's going to put Orange Cassidy down. But Orange Cassidy, hopefully in the loss and in the defeat, will show the fans that he can go, that he can wrestle when he wants to. And the little thumbs up thing and the little kicks and the sunglasses is just part of his gimmick. It's fun. Wrestling doesn't have to be all serious. It doesn't have to be all serious all the time. It can be fun. It can be tongue-in-cheek. It can make you giggle. It can make you laugh. That's part of the fun of wrestling. How can you say Orange Cassidy kills the business when Mae Young is fucking Mark Henry and giving birth to a rubber hand? How is Orange Cassidy killing the business, but that is not? What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm cursing a lot in this episode. But I've kind of had it. I've had it with WWE, and now it's spilling over into these fans that fucking criticize shit. So anyway, I'm elaborating way too much in my AEW predictions here. Bottom line is, Pac will defeat Orange Cassidy. There you go. Now we got the meat of the card. Now, this is all good. It's actually, well, maybe not the meat. Well, maybe a little bit of the meat. Let's start with the women's match, because I'm not really interested in this one either. I think AEW is making strides to improve the women's division, but again, the women's division is the weakest part of the show. I admit that totally, and I've been saying that a lot lately, but I also understand that it's not a 24-hour fixable type of thing. You can't have a 1-week fix. You can't have 1 week on AEW where the fans are like, damn, that women's division needs help. And by the next week, if it's not the best women's division in the world, the fans are ready to close the doors on AEW. It takes time. Let them bring in some new faces. They've got a new champion now. Let this stuff kind of get rolling a little bit and see if it can be a little bit more interesting than when Riho was the champion. Because when Riho was the champion, she wasn't doing anything. She had no program, no issue, no feud, no nothing. She was coming out on TV, wrestling random opponents, and that was it. Now you got Nyla. And now she can start, and she's talking a lot of shit on the mic, which Riho didn't do at all. She just giggled, and did her weird Riho thing. Now we got another Riho and this Yakazawa chick or whatever. So now you got a chance to maybe do more. So Nyla Rose is defending the title against Chris Statlander. I don't expect Nyla Rose to drop the belt. She just won it. She hasn't lost since losing to Riho, in the beginning of AEW's existence. So I think she goes on a run. Hopefully she won't go to Saudi Arabia and lose to Goldberg. Hopefully she'll continue to run with the title for a little bit. And I think the women's division has a chance to get better. Right now, it's still in the toilet as far as I'm concerned, but I'm not using that as to put a nail in AEW's coffin. AEW is smart enough so far, from what I've seen, to fix things that are wrong. Right? If they see something not working, they're not going to WWE us. They're not that type of company that sees the fans resisting something and they shove it up our ass anyway. That's what the other company does. AEW, to me, has not done that. And even when we have seen gimmicks that haven't been that good, they've been dropped, like the Nightmare Collective. So I think with the women's division, even though it's not great now, it will get better. And all it's going to take, we've been talking about a lot of these WWE talents that are leaving and shit. We haven't really talked about many women. I think all it's going to take is for one big female star in WWE to leave. A Sasha Banks, a Bayley, not a Charlotte's not going anywhere. Now a Becky is not going anywhere, but somebody with moderate success, who's maybe a little bit frustrated, wants out. Maybe Asuka, maybe Kairi Sane. Somebody like that jumps over to AEW and really gives that women's division a boost. That's all it's going to take, and it can't happen overnight. Sometimes you have to wait for talent to become available. And if you can get some pieces, create some of your own talent, grab some indie stars, and have a couple of name recognition people in there as well, that's how you build a roster. That's how they're building their men's roster. They got a ton of homegrown talent there. The MJFs and the Sammy Guevaras and the Darby Allins and shit like that. But then you have the names, the Moxleys, the Jerichos, guys like that. So it's a really good mix. And I think you can do the same with the women's division in AEW. I certainly do. But I'm predicting Nyla Rose to retain over Chris Statlander. The tag team titles are on the line as well. Young Bucks taking on Omega and Hangman. Now, we saw the sit-down interview with Jim Ross on Dynamite, and it kind of seems like they're just all against Paige. So I think this is probably it, maybe, for the team, especially since Kenny won the Iron Man match against Pac. Maybe they just finally do the split here, drop the belts, have the Bucks become champions. They even mentioned that in the interview. Why haven't you guys been champions yet? You're the best tag team in the world and you don't have the titles. And they're like, yeah, we don't know, or whatever the fuck. So I don't know if I necessarily even want to see the Young Bucks win the titles in some shitty way because Paige isn't cooperating or he turns on Omega. What does he do there? What would the Bucks do as being members of the Elite if they do a WrestleMania 5 situation where Rick Martel walked out on Tito? What if there's another miscue with Omega and Paige? This time Paige gets mad and leaves. Omega's in the ring all by himself. Are the Bucks going to capitalize on that and double team the shit out of him until they win the title, beat the crap out of their friend and take his belts? Or are they going to be like, no, we don't want to win it that way, or something like that? Or is it just going to be a regular miscue where maybe Kenny eats a buckshot lariat and the Bucks don't notice it and then they regroup to hit him with the Meltzer driver, win the titles? It could happen something like that. But based on all of the tension and everything, I feel like they could drag it out longer, but I don't know when the next pay-per-view is going to be, so I don't know if you can really drag it out any longer than that. So I'm thinking maybe you put the belts on the Bucks here. I don't know who to predict. Man, I'm going to go ahead and predict the Bucks. Yeah, Bucks will win the titles, because if they don't, they have had a lot of losses in the company. It's going to be one of those things where you're like, are they ever going to fucking win? So yeah, let's go with the Bucks winning the tag team titles over Omega and Hangman. Cody Rhodes taking on MJF. Holy shit, am I ready for this one? Now, part of me leading up to this match, I've been saying on the podcast lately that I kind of think that MJF should win the match, only because I think that you can get so much more business out of it. If this little shit makes Cody jump through flaming hula hoops and drag his naked body across broken glass just to get a match with him, and then MJF beats him, oh my God, you could run 6 more months off of that. So I almost think like MJF has to win just to continue the feud, but I already think Dustin is going to take a pretty hard loss here, and Cody is very over. He's probably one of the only true, genuine baby faces we really have in wrestling right now. And crowd loves him. He's very passionate, very emotional guy. Great cage match a couple weeks ago on Dynamite. The build and everything they've done with MJF has all been fantastic. And MJF is such a ridiculous prick that, yeah, let's just predict Cody to put him down. Cody will beat MJF with the crossroads and all of that. But I still think there's a sliver of possibility. And I talked about this too. I think you could do the Arn Anderson heel turn. That's what I would do. If I'm booking this, it's a difference between how I would book it and how I think AEW is going to do it. I'm predicting Cody to win because that's kind of what I think they're going to do. But if I'm booking it, I have Arn turn or something and have MJF win. And now he's got Arn Anderson on his team as his advisor, along with Wardlow as his muscle, and maybe MJF forms a little bit of a group. And then you got 2 groups going on. I don't know how that'll work, but I kind of hope MJF wins just because I think it will make the feud even more fun going forward, but I'm going to predict Cody. So that's kind of a cop out there, but it's the way I feel. If Cody wins, I still think they can do another match. If Cody wins, I still think MJF can come out on TV and claim that he never lost, or attack Cody or something else, setting up another match or a blow off, maybe another cage or something like that. Or if there's enough heat here and there's enough anger and hatred between these 2 guys, it might be a good time for AEW to introduce another gimmick match, maybe some sort of brutal gimmick match. I mean, cages is kind of the end all be all, but if they wanted to introduce something new for Cody and MJF in their blow off or something, might be an opportunity to do that. So I guess either way, you can do another match. There's no way these guys are going to have this long of a relationship, this long of a build, and it's going to be one match and over. You got to go further than this. So that's kind of why I think MJF is the better choice. But anyway, like I said, still picking Cody. That leaves us with the main event. World champion Chris Jericho defending the AEW title against Jon Moxley. They did the weigh-in last night on Dynamite. Very cool weigh-in spot there, especially with the headbutt that Jericho took. Got busted open hard way there, right between his eyes, stitches and the whole deal from Moxley. Big brawl with the inner circle and everybody there to close out the show. Excellent way to set up for this match. I've been saying for the past couple of months that Jericho's reign will probably end in February. Now, he had done an interview a couple of months ago where he said that he knew what he was doing all the way up until February, so I don't know if they've decided to keep the belt on him longer or if he's going to drop it here. A couple of problems I see is that, number one, a lot of people are saying that Jericho should not drop the belt yet. Now, if he retains and continues his run as champion, great. I got no problem with that because Jericho is entertaining as hell as the AEW champion. Maybe too entertaining because he is supposed to be a big, dirty asshole heel who's poking people's eyes out with spikes, but yet the entire audience is singing his theme song. Is that what you want for a heel? Or do you get this match over with, Jericho drops the title, and I swear they might do something down the line where, like, the inner circle loses faith in him. He's no longer the champion. Well, why are you going to lead us? You're not even champ anymore. So maybe they turn on him and Jericho turns babyface, has a babyface run in the company, and then starts running through and having matches with guys like Sammy Guevara and Hager and everybody that he used to run with. And then it would give the fans a reason to sing his theme song along with him. But otherwise, I think AEW and Jericho like and enjoy that the fans are doing that, but doesn't make a whole lot of sense for a heel either. So let's predict Moxley. Let's predict Moxley to take the title here. Again, much like the Bucks and Page match and Omega, and much like Cody and MJF, I kind of feel like these could go either way, but I don't know. I think it's time for a big title change. But man, you see, another thing is that people are saying to me is that wait for Double or Nothing, which is coming up in May. But the only issue I have there is if you wait until Double or Nothing, would you be telegraphing it? Would it be so obvious that Jericho's going to lose at Double or Nothing that you might want to just do it now? So I don't know. It could happen either way. Last year, it's going to be the 1-year anniversary of Moxley debuting, right? At Double or Nothing. So maybe he wins, beats Jericho here, and then defends in a big title match again at Double or Nothing or something. I don't know. I'm trying to think who else is in line for title shots. Eventually, Cody Rhodes is going to have to get written back into it. MJF, if he does beat Cody Rhodes, might be in line for a shot. That might be what they do. Maybe MJF beats Cody, Moxley beats Jericho, and then MJF gets the next shot. Or Jericho gets a rematch, something like that. So I guess I'm going to reluctantly pick Jon Moxley. I'm not confident about it, but let's say Moxley wins the title. You know, he's a big name that came over from WWE. He's not going to go beltless forever. I'm sure he'll be world champion there. I'm just not sure if right now is the right time, but the feud with Jericho has been good, and everything's been paying off, and I think the match should pay off well, too, and you should let Moxley run for it a little while, because I also worry Jericho's a stud, you know, and he really has gone his whole career without having any really true injuries, but he is like 50 years old. So the one thing I would not want to see, and I would hate it if it happened to AEW, is their very first champion, their very first title change ever is done by forfeit because Jericho gets injured or something. I don't want to see that. So Jericho's hot right now. He's on top of the world. Have him drop the belt to Moxley and let Moxley run with it for a while is the way I would do it. So let's run through these predictions again real quick, since I elaborated for like 10 minutes on each match. Dark Order over SCU. Dark Order over SCU, Pac over Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin over Sammy Guevara, Jake Hager over Dustin Rhodes, Cody over MJF, the Young Bucks over Omega and Page, Nyla Rose over Chris Statlander, and Jon Moxley winning the title from Chris Jericho. So I think that's a pretty good balance of heels and baby faces there, and we'll see. We'll see how I do tomorrow night on those predictions. So anyway, let me go back to the chat here and see if there's anything else to talk about before I bail out. Or if there's any super chats that I might have missed. Really good audience in here today. Please smash that thumbs up for me. There's about 400 people in here. If you guys could push those likes up to about 200, I would really appreciate it. Because I did a lot of ranting and raving here, and I want support. I want support for my rants. All right. Yeah, there's been talk, Chad Jones, of AEW introducing a TV title. I would love that. I'd be totally into that. Vape Lord is asking the same thing. Should AEW get a mid-card championship? Absolutely. TV title would be a good idea. I got a television title right over the back of my head here. But I think that is the plan. And I'm curious, how long do you guys think Moxley is going to is going to wear the eye patch? Do you think that will eventually just morph into part of his gimmick? Maybe it does. I'm wondering if, like, when his eye heals, if he'll still just rock the eye patch and, like, entrances and stuff. I don't know. Butcher, Blade, and Bunny, lame names. Yeah, they kind of are. I'm not a big fan of the Butcher, Blade, or the Bunny, to be honest with you, but they're there. So anyway, my God. Let's wrap this podcast up now. Thank you guys for hanging out today. Sorry if I felt a little bit out of it. I didn't write down any notes for the show. I'm like, I'm just going to go full-on freestyle rant here because the Goldberg stuff is just mind-boggling. I cannot fucking believe they did that. And, yeah, it was what it was. Any final thoughts here in the comments before I bail out of here and leave nearly 500 people stranded in the chat without me? But don't worry, I'll be back tomorrow night. Wait, what night is it? It's Thursday. I'll be back Saturday night, immediately following Revolution, and we'll talk about it. And hopefully we'll have more to discuss as far as WWE goes as well, because maybe tomorrow night on SmackDown we'll get some more concrete ideas for WrestleMania. We'll probably, I would imagine tomorrow night after SmackDown, we will really know the direction they're going in, so I'm sure there will be a ton of that to talk about tomorrow night after the Saturday night after the pay-per-view as well. Ha! CPL Alphadorf, I won $10,000 in Las Vegas. Thank you, Goldberg. Well, if you put money down on him and you won, I'm not going to be upset with you. I'm upset with WWE and the stupid fucking decision. But if anybody, won a few grand because of this outcome, good for you. I'm happy for you. All right, how Wheezy, you won't be here Saturday. You'll be home late. That's all right. We'll manage without you. I'll talk real slow. Maybe we'll still be up by the time you get here. You never know. So you're saying Page won't turn, Adam Page won't turn. I feel like it's coming. It's just a matter of like when they do it. And I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago too. He seems to be getting over a little bit with his drinking and his cowboy shit. Fans seem to like it. So if it starts working and he starts getting a positive like babyface reaction from the crowd, they might not want to turn him. It might have to force them to do something a little bit different with their booking as well, which with a company like AEW, they have that luxury. You know, they have that luxury to change things if it's not working because they got plenty of time to plan this stuff. Where WWE's like, I swear to God, this morning was like, let's put the title on Goldberg. That's what Vince McMahon said when he woke his dumb ass up in Saudi Arabia this morning. Man, I don't know what's in the water over there, but it ain't good. So anyway, I'm out of here. I got to head to work and do my business. So you guys, thank you for hanging out. Have a good rest of your Thursday and a good Friday tomorrow. And I'll catch you Saturday night after Revolution for a full pay-per-view review, SmackDown thoughts, all sorts of stuff we'll be talking about on Saturday night. It'll be a kick-ass fucking stream. So you guys take care. I'll catch you then. Peace.